Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, spiritual enlightenment or spiritual freedom comes with a simple approach. It's about witnessing yourself. Why? Because the truth is within you. That's why you need to witness yourself. Another step is dismantling the mind. Why? Because truth is not the mind. Because the mind is simply an ideas, collection of ideas, or it has become our preference, or it has become our ingrained belief. And all belief, all preference, all ideas are false when it comes to absolute truth. So that's why we need to dissolve the mind. And the next step is asking yourself, who am I? This who am I is going to help you see the ripples of your mind. That means if the ripples is still happening, that means mind is still there. That means we haven't been thorough in dismantling the mind. And the same question, who am I, is going to help us see the plain sight truth if we are thorough. So these are the simple steps we need to invite in our self-inquiry. Probably you have done the self-inquiry by asking yourself, who am I? And if you have done that practice for long enough, and if you haven't seen the plain sight truth, then tendency is to get bored with this practice, isn't it? And eventually we have given up. We have given up because not able to incorporate, apply the deconstructing approach in the practice. This is the one step that has always been missed out in the self-inquiry. Including myself, when I was asking, who am I just stayed with the who am I, and I just simply saw a lot of layers of the mind, but I wasn't able to dissolve the layers. And that made me fail and jump into the different practice in the past. But when I realized that deconstructing the mind is crucial, then when I start to apply that, then I start to, understand the nature of the mind, how the mind come into existence, how the mind itself creates the fear as a byproduct of the mind. So this is the crucial steps. Now, and most of you, are not able to walk this path is simply because there's so much distraction in the name of spirituality, isn't it? And we have conditioned ourselves so much in other spiritual stuff. Now, those things has given us so much meaning, so much further layers, so much experience that gives us the further perception that maybe, that's the way to go. So because our conditioning, we're not able to look into the simple steps. We have overlooked this path, and because of that, we are not able to bring the journey to an end. By the way, spiritual journey ends, and when it ends, then the easy living can start. Then our non-conflicting, we can make our life non-conflicting, and fearless. Right now, the spiritual journey is ongoing, isn't it? Why? Because of the conditioning itself. The seeking hasn't ceased in us. We're still seeking for the freedom, for the truth, to overcome the fear, conflict that the mind creates. We're still seeking to dissolve that. So, the collected credential and experience, they themselves have become the biggest blockage in our spiritual journey, especially if you have collected a lot of, gone through a lot of mystical experience. When you go through that experience, that is so dangerous, because this mystical experience is, somewhat a peak experience for the ego self, because those experience doesn't come in the relative world. When something is extraordinary, that's what the ego self thinks, extraordinary, then we start to see that as that's the way to go. But that experience itself is coming from a lot of, comes from the controlling the body and mind with certain techniques and approach. And freedom, to be free from the mind, we don't have to control the body and mind in the first place. Controlling itself is a resisting to what is. Anyway, when the mystical experience starts to come in, ego self love to think that this is the way to go. Eventually, this small mystical experience will help me to have that bigger experience, the ultimate experience. And that itself is pretty much the ego creating another illusion in the person. Spiritual enlightenment is about going to the raw state, the plain state of who we are, not adding these extraordinary layers experience on top of the plain sight. That itself is a layer. Then that itself is a block, is not to see the plain sight truth. All experience must go, all belief must go to see the plain sight truth. So invite this approach. Whatever you have gone through in your spiritual journey, if you see all your collection of ideas, meaning, reference, and experience, they haven't given you the true freedom from fear, freedom from the mental conflict. If you see that, then you can change the gear and apply the self-inquiry approach and try it. Your sincere trial will help you see, and understand your mind. And when you understand the mind, how the mind come into existence, and that's the process to see the plain sight truth. And when seeing the plain sight truth is the way to drop the mind, it's a simple, natural letting go happens itself. Notice right now you're trying so much, you put so much effort to let go, but you're failing in letting go of stuff, or letting go of your mind, isn't it? Why? Because right now the letting go is forceful. Letting go is a natural flow that only happens when you see the plain sight truth. And seeing the plain, to see the plain sight truth, one must be part of the inquiry approach. Especially, again, I mentioned that the overlooked step is the dismantling the mind. If you dismantle the mind, and ask yourself, who am I? This simple step will, help you be free from your own mind. Okay, so journey is straightforward, simple. Yes, when you're walking the path, it feels crooked because you are diving into your mind. Looking into your mind means looking into your fear, attachment, and that seems, struggle, tough, fearful, and because of that, it seems crooked. But that's the way to go. That's the way to see our own ego self clinging on to things. So my invitation here is to invite you invite you to look into this approach, work on it and see what happens. And remember that, being free from your mind is about dissolving the mind. Dissolving the mind only happens when you see the truth. Okay, anyway, I hope this video makes sense a little bit, and I hope you've been dismantling the mind. If you have been following this channel, keep going. Your effort won't fail you if you're sincere in dismantling. Anyway, that's it for today. Take care for now. See you in the next video. Bye.